CSD was plus 14.6, and then their average CSD at 15 was plus 18. And now up against Doublelift and Biofrost, they were up 7 at 10 minutes and plus 21 at 15 minutes. So they have been crushing every single lane that they played as a duo.
Well, let's see how the draft plays out in game number 2, because you mentioned Someday being on the Maokai pick, how the draft went in the favor of Team Dignitas, and how they targeted Bjergsen so well.
Do it again.
Let's see if they can do it again. They are targeting Bjergsen with the LeBlanc and the Syndra to start things off, as TSM takes Zach off the table and now moves on to their second.
Yeah, and I actually feel like these teams have a pretty good read on the patch. Caitlyn was actually not picked or banned last game, which was a little surprising, and TSM are banning it on red side now. I feel like from a comfort perspective, because now if they ban Kalista, they'll just take Maokai. If you ban Maokai, I feel like Dignitas are okay with taking Kalista. Very high priority champion for them. Unsure what the Thresh priority is like, but I feel like Adrian has always been a flexible support that you don't have to first pick him as support regardless of the meta. They'll ban it away, so they get Maokai or Kalista, or you trade 1 for 1. And Cho'Gath's still on the table, but wasn't picked or banned last game either.
I am looking forward to seeing some Cho'Gath potentially. As Kalista gets banned away, that will leave Maokai up. Wouldn't be at all surprised to see Dignitas lock that one in rather quickly, as Someday goes ahead and does just that.
That's why I feel like right now in the meta, if you are blue side game 1 and you screw up and you give over Maokai, you're going to go, oh man, that was such a powerful pick. You can't get it game 2, because they're either going to first pick it or you're going to have to ban it away.
Yep. It's a lesson that sadly can be very difficult to learn sometimes, as TSM decides to grab Doublelift Tristana again. Ooh, you gonna lock it in?
He's hovering it every single time. I
feel like
I feel like you don't pick it this early on without really knowing what the enemy jungle is. Yeah, really on the Sejuani train.
Sejuani?
I mean,
is that what all the good Sejuani players call it?
Is that your secret? That's when Contracts plays it, so.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Svenskeren, he's gonna be piloting that one again though, so TSM draft looking similar to last time.
Yeah, it's going for the tank line and also having Doublelift on the Tristana. Now the Caitlyn and the Kalista banned away, so the Sivir will come through. Looking for a speedy comp here. Maybe we get a Cho'Gath?
Having that on the hunt. The crowd really wants them to lock it in.
And I love it. It's a 3-beat chant.
Yeah,
Jack got
it
me all
works.
on
the syllables are there.
Jack got me all on the analysis of chant train, so.
They can't lock it in yet. It's got to be a counter pick. Patience, audience.
Fight with the audience, yeah.
Patience, audience. Graves is picked up for Dignitas. They're going to take that into the jungle against the Sejuani again. We saw how well it worked last time, except for that early level 4 or so fade that got it first blooded.
That was hand in the cookie jar a little bit too far and having everybody collapse here. So Bjergsen, we'll see. He's being very vocal right now, so it may just be a mid lane pick. Nope, going to be the Braum here to take that away. And that's going to leave Adrian with whatever he really wants to play into it. The Thresh banned away, the Braum taken. But the meta kind of right now for supports is all over the place.
Both mid laners still need to pick their mid lane champions, though. We are not seeing that first round of the draft mid lane strategy where then you ban out more mid laners afterwards. So that could change things up here during the second phase of banning. 5 seconds left before we get to see how TSM wants to approach this one. They'll ban Karma out.
Ooh. What if, all right, just hypothetical, what if Dignitas want to play Taric here and run the same composition in terms of, in essence, that Phoenix 1 ran yesterday in Game 2 against Cloud9 with a Sivir Taric bottom lane where you rush into the team fights with the ultimate on.
And then you can also haste up Taric as he gets the stun onto multiple people.
Yeah.
That could be it.
We'll see. Get a little bit of that glimpse into what the scrim meta was like, because people will scrim in pockets. They don't scrim who they're going to play against. So you always see two teams kind of come to the table with different things. And yeah, there's the Taric.
Right.
TSM smell it. Know that Adrian might be playing that one because the Sivir is a little bit of a giveaway there.
TSM found something tricky going on. They know that Sivir synergizes so well with those immobile melee champions. It already works well with Maokai. They don't want to give him another piece of that puzzle to put together, as Team Dignitas has one more ban to issue before we get into the last 4 picks of the game.
Orianna, Gnar, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, the Maokai, they already know that it's going to be a top lane Maokai here, unless there's like a tricky support flex going on here with it. With the Cassiopeia, I kind of expect, but the Orianna's still on the table. Ooh, I feel like if you're TSM, you either take a priority mid laner or you go for just picking what you want into Maokai top because you know that's the top laner. Yeah.
All right, Jack's in the top lane. Haunts are looking to carry.
Jax has mostly been played recently into Jarvan as a counter pick, but up against the Maokai, this means he gets some time to scale, but you do have to watch out for the fact that it's a Graves jungle with a lot of damage. So we'll see what Haunter's able to do on this carry top laner. But TSM, I feel like you have to have a priority mid now. You have to have something that has priority, because if you don't, you have kind of a scaling bot lane, scaling top lane. Need something that has some pressure. I would feel like Talia would fit into this composition pretty well. Talia Sejuani is a good combo as well on top of it. And we'll see what happens there.
It's always bad when you have a 1% pick rate and your win rate's lower than that.
They take it away.
Very unlucky, but Talia picked up for Dignitas. Keen will be on that one. And what does Bjergsen want to play into it?
Cassiopeia, Orianna, get pick of the litter right now, depending on what the comp wants. Cassiopeia a little more in the scaling department. The Orianna can match a bit. I feel like the Cassio would be great, but yeah, in terms of priority, I feel like the Corki is kind of the one that has the most. The other ones scale or take a little bit too much time. So even Lucian may have been okay here, but it would have been a full physical damage composition at that point.
And talking about this Janna pick especially, because this is something that we only recently started seeing.
Was the Adrian special.
The Adrian special, right. But I was talking to Azale earlier today about it because of the fact that we are seeing it again now. And he was talking about how the coin changes have been so big in enabling champions that like to build the coin to come back in a little bit and once again have a presence there in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I said this yesterday when it was locked in and coin was taken, where Janna passive Tailwind is 8% movement speed when you're moving towards her. Exactly the same as the ancient coin line. So then you would have 16% or however if they stack them. Unsure if it's additive or multiplicative. But yes, it gives people a lot of movement speed to kite back towards you. But this composition really wants to go forward. This is a move in, try to have some early game moves, try to shut down TSM's comp before they scale, and that's what they're going to be looking to do for here on Dignitas' side, which once again has a lot of teamfight prowess with Sivir ultimate as well as Maokai ulti.
There's a lot of damage in there too. I mean, you've got Talia, you've got Graves, you've got Sivir, you've got the one big tank in the Maokai, and that's the guy that's going to be protected. But the rest of the team is just going to try to mow TSM over, but TSM not without tools of their own. The Jax, we know how hard he can carry a game if allowed to scale. Corki and Tristana, no slouches in that damage department either. TSM needs the win here to keep the series alive.
TSM have only lost 8 games all split, and we're just handed one right there. In terms of their series, they've only had 3 series in terms of losses, but they've only also had 3 series go to game 3s.
Crowd's got their chant going on.
What is that?
I don't know, but they're chanting.
I was unsure. I was like, was that We Love Flowers? Because that would be my chant.
That would be you're always number one to me, Zyrene. Welcome to Summoner's Rift, ladies and gentlemen. The teams are out of the summoning platform. The crowd is chanting no matter what it is. That's still cool. And we are ready for game number 2. TSM especially ready to prove that they can take this one to game number 3. Dignitas ready to prove they can.
You want a fun fact? Dignitas have never lost 0-2. All of their losses have been 3-game series. So if they lose, it's just another one that's a 3-game series loss for them. And it just seems like Dignitas will get that leg up, and it also shows that they're prone. When they lose, they had a lead in the series at some point, or it was tied, and then they just let it slip through their fingers. So I'm not saying it's tilt, I'm just saying that there's an aspect here of playing long series and getting a little bit worn out towards the end and not being able to close it.
Which totally makes sense. It's absolutely understandable that you could have that kind of mental wear and tear after going through a series, especially when you're used to closing them very quickly. Having it go past that normal point is an indicator that things aren't going well for you, and that could start to get towards people in terms of whether or not they can keep cool and make the kind of decisions and plays that will result in finding that win that otherwise may be a loss. See a little bit of that early information warding coming down at the start of this game as Shrimp looks to get himself a super leash.
Yep, it's level 2 off just the small raptors. This is a blue side strategy of the super leash to get yourself into a lane very quickly. And I assume it's top lane. I assume he's gonna truck it all the way to the other side. Gonna have momentum over Svenskeren here, so he's already about a camp up. And Svenskeren's gonna take a while, go to the other side, do his raptors, then his red, which are warded, and they may have vision on him. We'll see when that ward expires on his raptors. He actually hit the wolves because the Hunter's Machete does the burn, the 5 damage every second. So he actually got 15 HP per second there as he was traveling across mid lane, kind of using the wolves like a health potion.
Which is really interesting. I remember when the jungle items first got changed around and people were showcasing that strategy with Rumble burning the Raptors.
Yeah.
Using his Flame Spitter to just constantly keep himself topped off as Someday just trading blows back and forth here with Haunter early on. Shrimp moving into the enemy jungle. We saw last game, he's not afraid to do this. He wants to counter jungle on this Graves.
Yep.
And he finds his way onto the Raptor King.
Because he's much faster than Svenskeren's clear, he actually goes for not using his smite on his red, and that allows him to smite the Raptors away. And Svenskeren was level 2, so he couldn't really contest it either.
Can he find Sven again?
Yeah,
so does he want to?
What he was doing is he was trying to run in and look for where Svenskeren was, but Svenskeren...
Uh-oh, Altec.
Winter's
Bite coming through. Last hit will get the stun. Altec still in decent enough shape, but really got to be careful about that 2v2 potential between Biofrost and Double Lift. Those two can stack those up and work in tandem. Trade potential is deadly.
Yeah, very much so. And I'm looking right now at what is Shrimp going to do with the advantage he has? This is going to be a back here from Svenskeren, and Shrimp got a lot of help from his team. The wards that were placed in the jungle, actually Svenskeren avoided the Raptor one, so Shrimp kind of had to go all the way to the other side to steal that camp away instead of find him at his red, which was the optimal, or like the hope.
Right,
but
the ideal situation.
Exactly. He takes what he can. Takes what he could. Huh.
Still doing okay.
Like sentences, man.
Yeah, sentences can be really tricky things. Very, very tricky. About as tricky as laning against somebody who's got a spell shield and a shield from a Janna and a tornado to protect. And there's a lot of tools available for Dignitas here to keep this carry protected, especially as the game goes on. Janna's just exceptional at healing.
Yeah, and I love the way that Adrian has played this as well. Like, we don't see too many Wind Speakers supports anymore, where he just gets to walk up every time the shield is up and trade. And Double Lift on the Tristana, like, he talked about in his interview where, you know, Tristana, you kind of just have to sit around and wait, and you should do that. You shouldn't just force the issue as much as possible, because you outscale, right? When he had gotten behind versus, I believe it was TL, he had talked a lot about how he should have just played it safe.
Bjergsen taking some damage from Keen early on here in the mid lane. These two staying point for point on CS so far, though. Altec and Adrian finally getting the shove back here on the bottom side. Both these AD carries have a lot of shoving potential, too. I mean, Boomerang Blades, Ricochets, the passive from Tristana on the E, making sure that they all detonate.
Yeah.
A lot of shoving power between these two.
Explosive Shot doing a lot there. Explosive Charge.
I always want to call it Explosive Shot, too. I think it's because she has another ability that
It used to be Explosive Shot.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
It was Explosive Shot back in the day, and now it's Explosive Charge. Not to be confused with Explosive Satchel or anything like that.
I'm really glad we don't see Ziggs AD carry anymore. Watching him kill those turrets in 35% HP was a little bit of a tilter. I much prefer to at least watch Tristana auto-attack them to death. Bjergsen will auto-attack these minions to death along with the help of his Gatling gun to make sure that he can secure all the CS possible. 47 to 45 between those guys, as the Jax farm advantage is pretty real over Sunday's Maokai here on the top side. 45 to 31, exactly where he wants to be in this matchup.
Yeah, kind of bonking him right now. Has the shove advantage. And we saw the trades early on where he was using the counter-strike and then dipping in. Very aggressive buy there with the Sheen. And no HP or boots to actually back that up. So yeah, he's just going for, you know, getting whatever advantage he can. So he's not saying I'm waiting to scale. He's actually playing it like a punish lane where he can bully the Maokai before the Maokai gets things like the Bramble Vest or the Ninja Tabi.
See if Shrimp tries to make a punish towards that as time moves on. Still level 4 on both of the junglers, so not exactly close to those ulti points just yet. And that's where you really have to start being afraid of both of these guys. Sejuani with so much more CC potential, Graves with so much more insta-gib threat once they hit that big ultimate threshold.
Yeah, interested to see what happens with the build here for Shrimp again, seeing if he'll go for the same Blade of the King build, or if he's going to augment it. We haven't actually seen as many Dust Blades as people in solo queue might have thought.
Right.
You know, just way more tanks, right? Because lethality, just not that great against people who stack armor, and now there's just top laners are back in that form, seeing a lot of that, as well as from the jungle. Well, Keen looks like he might want to get a back in here. That's a lot of usage of his abilities. Has level 6, so may look for a roam as well.
Just wants to throw the entire skill set into the wave, make sure that Bjergsen's the one on the back foot having to respond to that. Bjergsen does have teleport, by the way, which is somewhat unorthodox on the Corki. A lot of times you see him take Exhaust or something similar, but once he has a more global presence this time.
He's actually going to be able to, you know, if he had Exhaust, he would have been able to kind of have it removed from Keen with the Cleanse. So, not perfect, but I like the split push pressure that he can have. He can match the Taliyah roam now if he wants to, and Taliyah is actually super good at just backing, never having to take teleport as a character because you just move so quickly through things. And we'll see here if they see him in time.
Keen wants to make the move.
Roaming up.
Jump away from Hanser. The ward is there in time.
He actually doesn't clear out the control ward either. Doesn't want to get in combat, go back. Like, these are like what you see professional players do in terms of time. So he wants to get back to the wave, shove it out, and just say, like, there's a ward there, somebody else clear it, right? Not my business.
One of those things that you would normally think is questionable if you were doing it in solo queue, because you're like, why is my mid laner not clearing out the ward? I don't understand. He walked over it, he saw it. But
exactly. Well, it's like back timers. We talked about like having a better back timer. Now this gives Bjergsen a timer where he gets to back, and then the next minion wave isn't a cannon minion wave, so Keen will shove this in, and Bjergsen will try to rush here with the package. They'll give him that out of combat movement speed. So he rushes back, and he'll be able to not miss anything. And Keen is going to try to push this out. We'll see, is his a cannon minion wave coming up? It is, so Keen will be in a good spot as well to not miss much.
And Bjergsen with package, remember that whenever Corki has this, the enemy team's got to be extra careful. If you try to force anything or even just play as you normally would without respecting what he could potentially do with the roam, there's a big chance for him to make some kind of a play.
Yeah, and you can see Bjergsen just actually had to clear out 2 control wards on his way there. So like you were saying, they're actually kind of ahead in terms of vision control mid for that moment, and now it just waxes and wanes. The package may not be used here in a situation to dive because they had to see, or Bjergsen had to spend that time going on that bottom side of the map. And he's going to try to mix it up. Last time they saw him, he was clearing wards out on the bottom side. If he goes for Maokai here, it's actually the change-up.
Nope. Package is going to expire, so he just uses it to get back to lane faster. That's the fate of, I'd say, 80% of the packages you see first round or two that they pick them up. But Corki's in professional play just often don't get the chance to use those effectively because their opponents respect it so much.
Yeah, just use it for the better back timer to get to lane, rush in, try to have an item advantage. You can catch your opponent off guard if they haven't backed. So it can be quite useful in those scenarios.
600 gold lead for Dignitas just from farm, though. TSM, despite the fact that they're winning up there in the top lane, the jungle farm going the way of Shrimp. We talked about how Graves is so good at doing that. Also a farm advantage in the bottom side.
Yeah, we'll talk about gold leads here. Adrian is up about 300 because of his coin versus Biofrost having his Relic Shield. And then in the jungle, it's about 600 to 700 there. So it's actually a pretty hefty advantage in the jungle for Shrimp, who, I mean, thinking back to Challenger when I used to cast this guy on Rek'Sai, it was just the power farmer. He's always like the same level as his laners, just very far ahead of the enemy jungle and just tries to keep them down. And it was kind of what he was known for back then was it was very hard to jungle against him because of the pressure. He kind of lives in your jungle as much as he can.
I want to point out that first Drake is also Mountain this time around. Pretty highly prized neutral objective between these teams. So should either side be able to take out the enemy jungler, they could go for that.
And Dignitas have a better bottom half of the map here in terms of pressure.
They walk up, they find Biofrost, Glacial Fissure, and Flash used to keep himself alive there.
Yeah, I was expecting maybe Svenskeren to follow up, but here's the thing is, when they talk about making a triangle of pressure, you have the better early game jungler on Dignitas' side. You have the better pressure mid laner in terms of who clears waves faster, and then you have a better bottom lane here, because you have a ranged into melee in terms of support, and then you have the Ricochet and Boomerang Blades. So this area on the bottom side of the map is going to be very, very much so in Dignitas' control, and they just pressure this turret down. Yeah, trying to give Altec solo gold.
Turret first blood as a 2v2 is fantastic news for Dignitas. Built them up to almost 2,000 gold lead at 11 minutes into the game, which is exactly where they were last game. It was just off of that 3-for-1 play. Well, 3-for-0, excuse me. TSM had got their earlier kill before that. But this is exactly where Dignitas was the last time around in terms of economy advantage.
Yeah, and this is playing around your advantage in champion select, right? It's the mid lane, the jungle, and then your bottom lane duo. Whereas TSM have elected to kind of sacrifice the early game with their picks and go for more of a scaling type composition. And even if you tried to play to the top side of the map, because you don't have as strong of a jungler, I actually think the 2-on-2 is pretty even here. The Maokai would be able to root people for Shrimp to deal damage, but then Sejuani has the synergy with the melee champions like Jax to get a gank off. But you can see Svenskeren is paying so much attention to clearing out control wards back and forth on the bottom side of the map because it's just in Dignitas' favor. The TSM, I feel like, are playing very reactive right now because they don't have as much pressure as they would because of this draft.
And with the slow pace this game's taking, I want to go ahead and caster curse it real quick so we can get some fights.
I love that.
And at the same time, I want to step back and look at the bigger scope of how important this game is for both teams. Because remember, TSM is in extremely close contention. tied, dead straight, with Counterlogic Gaming and Immortals for first place. At the same time, Dignitas is in equally close contention for the 4th, 5th, and 6th spots against Team Envy and against Cloud9. So a win for either one of these two teams puts them further above their own competition in terms of making sure they stay relevant.
Exactly. And right here, though, like just to kind of bounce off that, the macro play, the macro game, and the champion selects of these teams are things that you always have to take into account. The individual play and the teamwork matters as well. But right now, Dignitas getting mid lane turret damage, bottom lane tier 2 damage, and they're going to trade 1-for-1 in turrets, but also a very bruised bottom lane turret. And when you get that mid turret, you open up the map, and that bottom turret is very close to going down as well, half HP. So now they have control of enemy blue buff, they have control of Mountain Drake, and they sacrifice their weak side of the map in the first place.
Right. Every time you take down a tier 1 turret, you're essentially opening up a door into enemy territory that you can come on inside, throw down some wards, see if you can set up a trap in a brush somewhere. A lot of different options open up to you to start taking over different parts of the map that would normally belong to your opponents. And with somebody like the Graves that you mentioned, Zyrene, saying how strong this guy can be in the early game, how Shrimp as a player in particular loves to live in the enemy jungle, well, that's just perfect.
Yeah, he gets to go ahead and use that Tracker's Knife and constantly ward. We'll see what he's buying here first. Has a Ruby Crystal in his inventory. TSM playing to their strong side of the map, and because of the fact that they've kind of swapped it up and put Double Lift on the top side, no Mountain Drake has been taken by either team, which is a little strange. Dignitas has had control there, and Dig looking for a bit of a fight. They're going to get outnumbered here because the Sivir, but they buy the TP. So Sivir can push, go. So now that what Dig is going to do and say, you can get Rift Herald, we're going to go for bottom tier 2, push it. Bjergsen, does he answer this with a teleport? Does he answer this with a push of some kind? Because he would be the one to do so. But actually, Adrian, wow, okay. Altec not going to risk it. Instead, says Mountain Drake is worth more because it's a permanent buff. That's actually an interesting trade there in terms of how they're going to go for the objectives.
Well,
probably the safer
one. Extra power later on to continue to secure objectives as the game continues. 14 minutes in, not an exceptionally fast first Drake timer. Pretty average, a little bit on the slow side. As it goes down, a nice bonus for Dignitas. Next one's going to be Ocean, so not the highest of priorities, but Double Lift is continuing to farm here in the top side. Still working on getting that Infinity Edge going that Altec already has for himself. Both of these two going to be building towards those crit builds, so it will take a little bit of time before they start to come online and become those serious damage threats in this fight.
Yeah, you're looking for those crit builds from these AD carries, but double Terrain Force for TSM, so they've actually hit a bit of that first power spike for this team composition that you would kind of want to have a Mountain Dragon fight right about now, but because of the fact that they've lost out on the turret and lost out on terms of what side of the map they were on when Mountain Dragon was being taken, it ends up being a pretty good move from Dig to take the Dragon instead of that tier 2, so better macro play.
And that Bramble Vest on Sunday is just so nice this game because, yeah, Corki does magic damage, but he's still auto-attacking you. He's still going to have any healing negated thanks to the Grievous Wound. It's still going to return damage to him, and it works wonders against Jax and Trist as well.
Yeah, the double Warlord's Bloodlust is actually huge. That thing starts healing you for about 200 plus in the later parts of the game because of the AD, and people critting off of it gives them even more. So I think it's just a great item to pick up, spend 900 gold on. Also, it helps you clear minion waves, because when the minions hit you, you're just reflecting damage back at them. So it's almost like the replacement Sunfire Cape slash Bomby Cinder.
Sunfire Cope. How to cope with not having wave clear. You buy the Sunfire Cope.
It was almost like Sunfire Coat. Like, cope. But yeah, you know, because you don't want to buy it, you got to cope and get yourself a Bramble Vest.
Well, Dignitas is going to move up towards his top side. Try to take down the final remaining piece of the outer turret puzzle.
Yeah, bottom turret, I don't know if they actually lose this though, because Sejuani's there, is Svenskeren going to use... Yes, he's going to use it. He used the Rift Herald on bot, so it's Hauntzer and Svenskeren pushing here as 2, and there isn't much more to help this out. Will someday be able to prevent a dive? Bjergsen dips out of vision, and he's just going to wait it out.
Yeah, I don't think Sunday's stopping this anytime soon. Hauntzer and Sven using that Rift Herald to successfully grab themselves a turret. They will abandon it, so that's about all they'll get with.
Yeah, and that's one of those situations where he could defend, but he's taking into account Bjergsen has teleport, Bjergsen just ducked out of vision, so you could defend it. Hey, get back here.
Oh, hey. Oh, it didn't hit the eye.
Close the eye. She gets like 100 damage on it.
Shelly. That's not what you're supposed to do. Someday does manage to finally get her out of the picture. Continuing to farm up on this tree. Wants to become that tanky monstrosity he became in game number 1 that can just throw himself into the fight, disrupt the back lines of TSM. But that being said, A little bit trickier this time. Corki has ways away from Someday, whereas Xerath was just a sitting duck if you ever close the distance.
Exactly. He has multiple ways to get away here, and I feel like TSM are actually in an okay spot here because their composition scales. If the game is 0-0 and you're behind one turret and a dragon, it's not an awful position to be in when you have a Jax and a Tristana. You're kind of waiting for that late game anyway, but Dignitas, this is where they want to be because they are ahead in the tempo. They have those tier 2 turrets ready to be knocked down in a few lanes, and that's how you have to accelerate the pace of the game here. And you can see actually Shrimp going for Black Cleaver second now instead of going for the Blade of the Ruined King. More standard. Yeah, didn't snowball, so doesn't really care too much about that. He's going for the cooldown reduction as well as being able to shred the Sejuani.
Banshees fail up on Keen, but Bjergsen has the tools to be able to poke that off pretty easily in terms of using the ultimate for the Rockets. Monster will continue the split push.
They're looking for double lift. They're trying to go for double lift here. Shrimp is actually going to go through. Here's the Talia wall.
Uh-oh, double. This could be the first blood. Should be the first blood. And it goes over to Keen.
Yeah, he's doing what AD carries should be doing, though, at that point in the game. But now they're going to try to get a dive on the bottom side. Bjergsen, he would have to TP in. Oh, he actually missed him in terms of vision. Now, there's the TP. Looking for something back. Someday has to outplay.
Ulti gets dropped, trying to use the Bramble Smash to get himself out. Stun comes through. Someday zoned away from the turret, but they can't find the kill. TSM will have to settle for looking for the T2 instead.
Yeah, this is actually 5 members from TSM bottom, and Digger saying, screw that. Top lane, mid lane, trade 2 for 1 in turrets after they got double lift.
I love this decisiveness from Dignitas. They're not moving around, halfway channeling backs, trying to figure out what to do. They say, you did this, we're doing that. It's exactly the kind of decision-making that you have to demonstrate if you want to be a top team.
They're getting flanked right now. TSM are trying to regroup around Dignitas, but I feel like Dig, Someday can TP in here if something happens.
Oh, catch out onto Shrimp. That could be huge. They find the damage of burn him down right there at the start. Adrian now having a run from Bjergsen, who bounces forward to find more auto attacks. He's off down. Adrian caught out. And 2 for 0 for TSM.
Yeah. Someday doesn't have a great teleport position or ward, and TP's a little too late, cancels it, and TSM, great play from them to actually get something back with Biofrost. Taking a lot of damage.
That was really, really close to being bad, but Biofrost still in good enough shape to walk away from that one. Quick replay of how they got this catch.
And this is great from Hanser. You're thinking about game 1 where that last fight happened and he TP'd in and went in. And people were like, what was going on? It's a team call. And this is a team call from TSM to go in because they have the package. They have tools to catch out these members who overstayed. And at the end of the day, they don't get that top tier 2. It's a 1-for-1 in turret trades, and then they trade members across the board. That's 2 for 1 in terms of overall double lift for Shrimp and Adrian, and a 1-for-1 in turret trades.
TSM coming out on top of that one, just like you said. They're not super worried about where they stand in the game right now. They've got the confident scales. They're fine taking these reasonable trades with Team Dignitas. Dignitas just needs to find a way to make those trades a bit more unreasonable. They've got the advantage. They've got 2 crit items now completed on Altec. They've got the Leandries plus the Banshees Veil on Keen. Righteous Glory plus just more tank items for Sunday. This team has the tools to make things happen. They've just got to find the windows.
Yeah, right now, the gold advantage is actually in a really awkward spot because Hanser is up about 1,000 gold, and then Shrimp is up about 700. Mid lane's pretty even, and then the 80 carry roll, it's 1,600 up for Altec, but then 1,300 of this gold advantage is actually on Adrian.
Because coin.
Because coin, because of bandit mastery, I assume. So he's actually raked in a bit of gold here. Yeah, he's earned 1,400.
Holy, yeah, that's a bunch different. Yeah, 1,400 to 507.
Actually, now he's got 1,500 gold from his Eye of the Oasis. Biofrost has earned 508 from his quest. So 1,000 more gold just from the support item.
Azael wasn't kidding. That coin earns you a lot of money these days.
Give me the money.
Give me the money.
Called coin for a reason. But it puts him on his way to having that Ardent Sensor very early on. And this will buff up their team fight because multiple members will be auto-attacking. You'll have the Maokai, also the Graves, and the Sivir. So once he gets that item, that's where this gold advantage actually kind of manifests. Whereas right now, it's that awkward spot where, oh, they're up 1,400 on a support. Does that really matter in the grand scheme of things? If a fight were to happen now, I would say not too much.
An Ardent Sensor is such a strong item. You get a ridiculous amount of gold efficiency from that thing. Every person affected by the buff raises the gold efficiency by like 50% or something absolutely insane like that. The item is one of the best things you can possibly build for any sort of enchanter support that can reliably apply it.
He's going to back and get it now. There it is.
There you
First,
go.
First item, Ardent Sensor on things like Sona is actually, there was a point, I think a patch or two ago, where the highest win rate champion in the entire game was Ardent Sensor first item Sona. And then it was like Janna afterwards. It's like you can control so much of what happens to your AD carry by shielding them and having even more shield power, giving them a heal, giving them on hit damage. Gives you a lot of power and kind of allows you to dictate what's going on.
Give him a shield, give him a heal, give him on-hit drain as well as attack speed.
Yeah, the attack speed is huge too. And it lasts for 6 seconds as well. And then the Janna shield is a 6.5 second cooldown. So you can pretty much keep that up 100% on a single person if you wanted to.
Dignitas fires off the wall, which doesn't really do anything but agitate TSM. They wanted to use it to check and see if TSM was hanging around Baron or looking to set up anything around those areas, but they don't find any success with it, just sort of noticing that TSM was hanging about but not accomplishing anything while they were doing so. 42,000 to 39,000 gold, so we've seen kind of a stagnation in terms of the difference growing between these two sides. Which is fine for Haunter, who's working now on his second item, getting more and more wave clear, more and more push power. He's constantly going to make something that needs to be answered in this bottom lane in terms of pressure and threat.
Like TSM are totally fine trading farm, right? Dignitas actually shouldn't be the ones who are okay with trading farm over and over again. They should be looking to use Righteous Glory, try to start a fight and engage and use Talia Wall. But TSM are kind of just avoiding. Dignitas aren't pulling the trigger, trying to play a little more reactively. And it's actually giving TSM, I would say, a bit of an advantage in terms of items over time here.
The big issues here, I think, for Dignitas is the fact that they only have one person looking to really pull that initiation trigger, and that person is now getting initiated on himself, having to flash away here in the bottom lane. Haunter continuing the attack underneath the turret.
Turn it.
Someday just keeping these guys here as Altec and Adrian come in. The cavalry arrives. They cut down Bjergsen and Altec once more. Haunter jumping away with the leap strike onto the nearby minion wave, but they get one kill.
Yeah, Someday gets out, but Altec rushed there with Adrian. They were able to get to him just in time and get that kill onto Bjergsen. He has teleport, so when he comes up, he can still pressure. There's the TP onto Baron, dig Baron. Does a Pog champ? I think so.
This is what they want. This is how you decide to win the game instead of just waiting not to lose. They make the call. But they did have...
Oh boy, didn't kill the Blast Cone. Svenskeren has like multiple ways in.
Time. Biofrost, double lift, Svenskeren all over the wall. Baron below 1/4 HP. Sejuani ulti makes its way in. Double lift goes over, trying to see what he can go now. Someday trying to block it, but the Baron is secured. Shrimp makes sure he's got it as double lift gets evaporated by the power of that Graves dance.
But here comes the powered recalls to stop Haunter on that turret. Jax backing away.
Jax just does so much work in a split push scenario. He'll get the tier 3, but he does not get the inhibitor. Now the rest of Dignitas pressuring here in the mid lane. They're up against both Bjergsen and Bio, but they've got the Baron Enchanted Wave. They want to get the tier 3 of their own, make it even. Bjergsen getting himself juggled back by the seismic shove.
Yeah, gotta watch out for the TP from Haunter here if they're left in the area.
It already caught him once. They need to learn from those lessons. Shrimp cutting himself backwards. Svenskeren decides to take out the control ward. Dig gets back. And now the question is, what can they make of this Baron power play?
Yeah, have a few turrets available to him. Remember, the top and the bottom ones are about half HP, and Ocean Drake in 45 seconds. They can reset for that. But yes, this was a situation where this is a 50-50. It shouldn't really come down to this. There's no ultimate available for Adrian. Adrian already used his Q. So Svenskeren goes in while he's nearsighted because of the Graves ulti. And he's actually the one who smites first, I believe. And then it ends up being Shrimp who smites second there. So Shrimp holding it, making sure, knowing there wasn't enough burst damage there from a Sejuani by herself to get in. As Someday did a really good job of jumping in onto Double Lift, who at this point in the game could auto-attack over the wall and hit the Baron if you wanted to.
Yeah, the range on Tristan is something that you can't underestimate. It actually does become even greater than Caitlyn during the last couple of levels as that passive continues to stack. Keen and Dignitas have moved up through the enemy jungle, positioned themselves in bottom lane though, and look to work on one of these remaining tier 2 turrets. They don't even really need the minion wave. Nope, they'll just face tank it, put some more auto attacks in there, and now that Someday's finally moved up into a tanking position, they'll grab that one for free.
Now he has the Maokai ultimate. You have Talia Wall in a few seconds here. I feel like TSM trying to engage a fight becomes very difficult. When Jax scales up, gets Titanic Hydra. becomes a great split pusher, but hasn't been able to really do much work against Someday, who's playing really defensively and playing with the team now.
And especially when one person on the enemy team is split pushing the entire game, you want to see teams that pick Talia secure turrets using the ultimate. That's what it's so effective for, and if they can't force the issue like that now, they're going to fall behind to this.
He should be doing it now. Next minion wave, there you go.
All right, cutting him off. Double lift caught on the wrong side of the wall, manages to rocket jump away, but the tier 3 goes down. The inhibitor will too. That's exactly what Dignitas came here for. Now they can back up and try to stop Hanser.
Yeah, TP to the top side from Bjergsen, actually. That's a back from Maokai. He won't be able to actually get here in time, I think. So I think we're actually going to lose 3 turrets here. That's 3 turrets. Oh,
he just barely keeps her alive.
79 HP. But like the gold is so close because a lot of teams, once they're behind like that, you don't make that play. Bjergsen TP to the top side to get something back and keep pushing. And so TSM are trading constantly even though they're behind. And that's good because it means they aren't paralyzed. They aren't paralyzed by the pressure. They feel it, but it's not something that's completely pushing them out of the game. And Hanser's going to pick up what he can here. And this is most likely traded for a top tier 2 turret. But are there any TP locations for him? I don't feel like there are. He could go for that bottom inhib.
Ocean for tier 2. Dignitas now has no objectives left to take outside of the enemy base.
TSM are playing a risky game. They're playing the trade and try to wave clear strategy here. So he's going to go for this, jump on it. Baron Empowered Recall is actually not on Someday anymore. Not on anybody, I believe.
Shrimp got himself back, though.
Yeah, Shrimp got back.
Shrimp, can you get him?
QSS.
Still trying to catch up, flashing forward. But over the wall he goes, and Hanser is safe.
But he pulled them away from pressuring the top, and he bought time for the Baron buff to wear off. And now, here comes the engage.
Breaking out. This team fight could determine a lot of where this is going to go. Someday eating a lot of auto attacks from Double Lift. Svenskeren looking to tank here right in the middle. Bjergsen grabbing the kill onto Adrian. Double Lift taking a lot in return. Altec exhausted. Cannot make that counterattack happen just yet. Shrimp stops the back from Hanser, preventing a TP. And the sides will both disengage, having lost 1 Manny.
If he was able to get back, there's wards for him to TP to, and now Shrimp overextended.
No. 1-for-1 trade now becomes 2-for-1 as Dignitas lose their jungler.
And TSM are just pulling Dignitas across the map with their split push pressure. This is how you abuse having a split push advantage. We see so many Fioras kind of group up with the team when they have a big advantage, when you could continue to pressure turrets. And that's what we've been seeing Hanser do, is just pull people away. If you can get that Maokai to answer you, that means that Maokai is not in that fight, and you can take one with the numbers advantage. But look at this.
Hanser has flash, but Keen has the wall. Ends up cutting him off, takes the wall down, and Hanser, the escape artist yet again, gets away.
Getting out, even has the Randuin's Omen to slow people who attack him in terms of attack speed, but then also has the active, which he used there at the end. It wasn't necessary, but still, just making sure he's in a position to even be a team fighter if he needs to be. And that's actually, okay, well, he went Ravenous Hydra, sold it for Titanic Hydra there, just undid. I was scared for a second. He was going to go for the full HP, like lifesteal split push, but this is better.
And I mean, Titanic actually has a hidden extra bonus for Jax as well, because since it's not just an active, it's an auto attack reset, it does give you that instant empower for the 3rd hit.
Yeah, gives you more, if you use it at the beginning, it allows your passive of having more attack speed after every hit stack up faster, and it allows you to have that passive from your ultimate get to that next shot a little bit faster as well.
Now he's gone from scary to scarier, and you just gotta wonder how much longer can Dignitas allow this madness to go on before there's just no longer a way to deal with this. I mean, yeah, you've got a Thornmail on the side of Someday, but this isn't the old lifesteal Jax. This isn't Gunblade plus Bork plus Trinity Force. This is a very tanky Jax.
And they have to start something here. Someday's gonna maybe look for an ultimate. Righteous Glory trying to reach that backline, got slowed.
Gets himself slowed down, but he's made his way into the very middle of TSM lines, popping off the ultimate as it crawls forward, rooting down to Airborne Biofrost. Svenskeren continuing to kite himself backwards. Hanser on the back line of Keen and Shrimp as they continue to try to clean up. He's got the grip, find the damage, and Altec's grabbing a killing spree. Svenskeren falls, Double Lift on the run. Altec still looking to get him too. A little bit more should seal his fate. That poor little Yordle Doesn't matter if you got a spooky hat or not. I think the tornado will just do enough to keep them slowed down, and Altec's got a rampage.
Yep, and that's what you need to do as Dignitas. You need to start those fights, and now Baron is back on the table, and they're doing this perfectly. They're not just starting the fights willy-nilly. They're starting the fight when they can get something afterward.
Momentum once again in Dignitas' control. Now they move themselves towards the Baron. Haunter will continue trying to just be a nuisance wherever and whenever he can, but with their jungler dead, TSM knows there's no way to contest this, and Dig grabs another Baron.
Yeah, they believe have gotten 3 Barons plus this series. They've been doing a fantastic job of controlling it, especially with that Maokai. I mean, the ultimate was just used. It's back up for someday. Very low cooldown, 56 seconds to have a team fight ultimate every time.
The Enchanted minions are ready to continue the push here in mid lane. Tier 3 goes down. Inhibitor now the target. Keen and the rest of Dig wanting to press this advantage further, but they've got to be careful to not overstay their welcome. One big throw could easily shift the momentum of this game into TSM favor.
And they have gold to spend. TSM just spent all of their gold. There's still like thousands of gold on everybody. 2,800 on Altec they'll spend here. And someday he's trying to get in, but I like the Talia wall, the cutoff options. But then the allocation of resources is just so good. Altec over the wall, hitting Sejuani, which allows him to ricochet onto Doublelift and Bjergsen both. And basically, it's a 3v4 on this side of the map that they end up winning, and then it's a 2-on-1 on Haunter. So normally when the split pusher can pull 2 people, you get a team fight victory. But because of the damage,
good lord!
Crap.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody else on, I mean, that is so much damage.
You could have everybody else in the game together,
Yes,
and it's just barely more than Doublelift. Or barely more than Altec, my bad.
Yeah. He's 2 levels up. The ricochets have been doing work. He's full build, 6 items right now. He is an item and a half ahead. This pickup for Dig has been worked.
All right, Inhibitor's down. Doublelift got rooted by the ultimate from the Maokai. Dignitas still wanting to pressure this forward. Doublelift caught out and destroyed! Altec unstoppable as TSM may find themselves in a truly dire situation. Haunter on the front line, tanking things up with a counter-strike. Inhibitor now the focus for Dignitas in the bottom lane. A 2-inhib game should be able to put them in a spot where they are firmly in control. Even Haunter will have difficulty split pushing against this as the Nexus becomes the target. Sven, Bjergsen, TSM have to find some way to survive this, but it doesn't look like they will. Biofrost the next one to fall. Haunter and Svenskeren having to defend as Bjergsen heals up. Nexus turret number 1 halfway down. The backdoor protection comes online as Sunday continues to tank time after time after time. And Haunter gets thrown up into the air. The helicopter will not save him. Svenskeren cannot escape. And Bjergsen will be the last man to fall as Dignitas 2-0 TSM.
TSM were in first place, tied in a 3-way tie, and Dignitas in 4th say, no, we're coming for the Titans. They have to play the other 3 teams, and now they're gonna say, we're coming for those top spots.
A phenomenal showing from Dignitas, and especially from Altec. He came to compete, becoming the new AD carry for this team, taking this bottom lane to new levels.
This bottom lane, the double A tier, the Adrian Altec. They are performing so well. It is actually a little bit unprecedented here. We have seen these 2 guys. We kind of know their level of performance, but in tandem with each other and the way that Altec plays, it's giving them a lot of strength in the bottom lane, where Someday used to be just, Someday show in the top lane, right? Just, if he can, carry games, if Keen is playing and has a counter pick and is doing well. That's not the story. Altec has won every single lane he has played with Adrian so far in terms of CS. He's been a very impactful member in terms of the entire game, and he has just been ridiculous in what he has been able to do and help the Team Dignitas shore up a lot of their issues here.
And for those of you out there who really enjoy seeing how good a player is based on the numbers he puts up, if the damage in those fights wasn't enough for you for Altec, 424 farm in 35 minutes.
That's Sivir. That's you walk up to the wave, you get the wave
Sivir,
there.
but still, that is damn impressive. Normally you would aim for perfect CS, quote unquote, to be 350 and 35. He was 20% beyond that.
Yeah.
He was in every fight doing all the damage, still being able to farm that much. He's a monster.
Yeah, and he has pretty much high kill participation. He's 11 out of the 12. Adrian is 100% kill participation. And with the Ardent Sensor, just the extra attack speed for Sivir, she starts going out of her mind like she has 7 items when Doublelift has less than that, less than 5. And it's pretty incredible what this bottom lane has been able to accomplish here in terms of who they've gone up against. They've beaten Stixxay and Aphromoo. They've beaten Doublelift and Biofrost. And we're saying like they've beaten them, right? It's like a lot of it is in terms of the 2-on-2, because they aren't really getting those ganks very heavily. You get some wards around the bottom side. You have the draft kind of focus around getting you Callista. They didn't get it. They still had something that they were very comfortable with. Shrimp isn't playing like a super heavy ganking jungler either. He just has pressure on Svenskeren, and they control the triangle of mid, jungle, and bottom in both games so far.
And when your jungler just takes the other jungler out of the equation, even if you're not directly ganking, you're telling your bottom lane, hey, if you win 2v2, you win. He's not helping.
And I love this because whenever I see Adrian kind of pick up supports, everybody's like, oh, you know, I feel like he's just doing his own cheesy thing. And then when it went to like MSI and we saw Afromu take the Soraka over there, right? And then SKT was like, oh, these are really good. Why aren't we playing ranged supports? The meta might start shifting towards that again, especially since we have a lot of tank top laners and tank junglers coming back in. I feel like utility AD carries like Sivir are super good, especially when she brings a lot of damage, that you don't have to wait on the scaling. And then you also have enablers in team fights to keep people safe away. Like, if you can't peel 4 tanks, Janna can help with that.
Yeah, Janna provides so much utility, so much speed for the team. And that Ardent Sensor, like you said, it allows the utility AD carries to have that much more of a damage threat.
Yeah,
that much earlier.
Big overall.
But for more on that 2-0 from Team Dignitas, let's send it over to Riv, who's standing by with an interview with the victorious bot laner.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great cast on the day. I am joined by Altec after that absolutely crazy game over TSM, the victory for Dignitas as you guys move towards the top of the standings. Altec, the LCS has been something you are very familiar with, the ups, the downs, and now very big ups. What is it that's clicking for Dignitas, and what do you feel that's different now on this team?
I think over like the course of when I first joined, we went 0-4. Maybe it's like a coincidence, but I think after like we kind of like finalized our bot lane issues, I guess, and we decided to play Adrian, I think like I'm very confident, and like overall the team's like performing really well.
And what kind of is it about that synergy? Have you had a long history with Adrian? How does that work? Is it we work off each other just moving, or are you guys kind of a 3-2-1, let's engage?
I think over the past like 2 or 3 years, we've played a lot together in solo queue, but we never got like the chance to, I guess, like play competitively together. I think we have like a lot of experience. Maybe we played over like 500, 1,000 games together. So I think like us joining Dig together and us being able to play, like it really enables each other to do really well.
What do you kind of think is the best part about that synergy? What really works for you two?
Well, I think we just know what we're doing lots, or like what we want to do. Like we don't necessarily have to talk about it a lot of the time. I think like he's always there to back me up and stuff like that.
All right, and as I said before, as you guys shoot for the top of the standings, Dignitas looking better and better. What do you feel actually separates you guys from these top teams as you move for first place?
Oh, I don't know, because like this is a new patch, and obviously like the tanks are super OP now. But like even this game, the game 2 against TSM, we didn't really practice much of our bot lane combo, the Sivir Janna, but it was like a really good situation to play it. So we're able to play it, and we're able to do really well with it.
Awesome, slip that right under the radar. Congratulations on the win, and best of luck moving forward with Dignitas. We are going to throw it back to the desk to break that game down.
Thank you very much, Riv. Unexpected result here with a 2-0 from Dignitas over TSM. That's not to disparage Dignitas and the run that they've been on recently, but at the beginning of the day, we were looking at the top 3 teams saying, well, TSM's the only team with single-digit game losses.
Still true.
Still true, because they now have 9.
Yeah.
But again, we were positioning them as, if you're going to make a case for a top team, it's TSM, and here they dropped 2 games to Dignitas right at the beginning of the day.
And the big thing is we heard Double If last week saying, okay, 7-14, resets everybody, this should be good for us. But a lot of TSM's players are very slow at adapting, and TSM as a team has always been known as the team that kind of figures out the meta slowly and grinds you down through standard play. Well, you don't have standard play yet on 7-14. No one knows exactly what the meta is, and you see multiple times here that the TSM does not feel comfortable drafting to what we think are the power picks right now.
Let's pull up that draft. Let's take a look at what these teams ended up with, because on the side of Dignitas, once again, the Maokai goes over into the hands of Someday, but right alongside that, we've got that Sivir coming out again. Makes for absolutely insane rates of engage when they choose to fight.
If you've missed Sivir Maokai comps, I'm pretty sure they're coming back. Sivir actually has some okay matchups in the bot lane, not great, and with all the focus on playmaking supports and less bully potential that you saw a couple patches ago with all the range support mages, those are gone for the most part. So Sivir is actually pretty happy in the meta as it's starting to evolve, and with so many tanks, she just speeds them up. up and throws them into the rest of the team.
Separately, I thought you made a very interesting point after we saw the Janna locked in again next to the Sivir, that while, yeah, maybe Janna individually isn't the strongest support champion out there in the meta, right along Sivir, it kind of allows her that extra AD for the ricochet and, you know, boomerang clears on the wave
so
to just
fast.
say, look, you're not gonna make any progress on our turret. Sure, we might not be doing a ton to you, but I can just sit here and farm all day.
And eventually, they actually took the first turret bot lane just by shoving constantly, and they got a small CS lead, and that's kind of what started Dignitas' snowball. The other thing to point out, though, is, of course, TSM, Jax.
What the heck is that?
I'm not exactly sure. We've seen
What
some...
patch are we? What patch are we on?
I believe it's
Was
714.
Jax a strong pick
I believe
in 713?
Cho'Gath. I think Cho'Gath was supposed to be one of the priority picks.
What's confusing is that this pick is coming out, and it's not even a holdover from a previous patch. It seems like they're trying to shoehorn a champion in, and when you've already seen the picks here, how do you ever expect to successfully pull off a 1-4 split?
I don't know, because if you get a lead, like any comp can work, and if Jax is able to hammer around turrets while you set up with your double AD carry in front of another turret, that's fine. I think that this draft as a whole can make sense, but when you're playing it into Maokai Sivir, who are just going to charge at your 4-man core and force a fight or force objectives, it's so hard to buy enough time in an even game for this Jax to really start doing work in the side lanes.
I mean, we saw the attempts, right? A few times, Haunter able to really extend his, push in the bottom lane, threaten those inhibs, but all for naught, because once again, as soon as Dignitas decides to pull that trigger and they execute on it, they get the win. Do want to take a look at one replay, once again, around the Baron, where Dignitas is finding all of their success. 25 minutes in, they only end up with 1 kill for 0, but they get the Baron as well.
This was a situation where they had just tried to make a play in the bot lane. Bjergsen ends up going down during that, and it's all too easy for Dignitas to force at this Baron. It is admittedly a little risky, but
That was risky.
This is something that we're kind of used to seeing at this point for Dignitas. We hope for better Baron control. We don't always get it, but they will force aggressively, and that's one thing you have to give them credit for. And then once they got that, they became super aggressive, and you saw them, Sivir ulting the Maokai at them, and they were just brute forcing turrets down in front of TSM. And it's like we said, a pretty erratic gold graph, but still generally trending up. And that's what we were saying in the previous game where, yeah, TSM will throw some punches back at you. They did have that one TP play, around that 20-minute mark where they got 2 kills, but they're still slowly losing over the course of the game.
But that is indicative of TSM still being a good team, that even in the loss, they are finding their way to make stabs back at the lead. Credit to Dignitas for not throwing it back to them, right? Okay, we lost a single engagement. Let's reset, refocus, and make sure that the next time we take a fight, the gold graph spikes in our direction. Alltech picking up another player of the game here for that Sivir play. I mean, hey, you're putting out the DPS. Look at that. 10K over the next person on his team. That's half of it there, as well as those engagements right alongside Someday.
That's the big thing, is that he won laning phase, which is, something that Dignitas was struggling with. Was like, Someday generally plays well, but between Keen and when they had Laud, it was who can step up to help them out. Now it feels like their bot lane consistently is stepping up. They have a great meta for them because they have the Kalista, they have the Tristana, and now they're showing the Sivir as well. It feels like they're very well positioned to continue playing well on 7-14.
And Dignitas moves to 8-5, only now 1 match behind TSM, who dropped to 9-4. So again, when we talk about the shuffling to be done at the top of the standings, there's plenty that can still happen. For TSM, though, it's got to be about, again, as you mentioned, adapting to this patch in time to remain at the top. They want that playoff bye. You got to finish 1-2 if you want it.
Right, and I think it might be a struggle to finish 1-2, but I wouldn't be too concerned as a TSM fan, because when you're looking at this meta as it grows, if it becomes a tank meta with your backline trying to melt frontline,
it's actually ideal.
That sounds pretty good. Haunter on Maokai has done great. Bjergsen on hard carries, Doublelift on hard carries is great. So you might actually end up fine.
Yeah.
It's just might be some growing pains.
That's a funny point. This meta does seem like the TSM meta. They just still need time to warm into their own meta.
Yes, exactly.
All right, there we have it. That wraps up our first series. We've got 2 more teams taken to the stage. Up next, Black West hit the Rift as they hope to take down Immortals. Don't go anywhere.